Are you ready to transform the way that you prep your Salesforce certifications? In this episode, we're turning study stress into study success. I'm Jennifer Lee, lead admin evangelist, and welcome to our last Automate This episode of the year. Sorry for that slight technical glitch. We're up and running again. And today I'm teaming up with Bradley Condon, who will show you how automation can be your ultimate study buddy. So from delivering daily practice questions straight to your phone to providing instant feedback and even managing your subscriptions with Agentforce. We got it all today. So whether you're a Flownatic or just getting started, this episode is packed with tips, tools, and techniques to help you ace your certification goals. So to join in the conversation during the live stream, drop your comments in the chat and connect with your fellow viewers. Now, if you have a question for me or Bradley, start it with a Q colon so that we can easily spot it and give you the answers that you're looking for during the Q&A segment. So what you'll learn from today's episode from Bradley, we're going to talk about email to text gateways. What are they and how to use them? Email to case, how to use them to process responses, and junction objects, handling the many-to-many relationships. So I'm really excited to be joined today by Bradley Condon. Welcome to Automate This, Bradley. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so let's get to know you better before we dive deep into your use case and solutions. How did you get started with flows?
Oh, well, that's actually a funny story. I got started with flows because of you. You had a blog post that was talking about how to automate the user creation process. And so I read the blog post and I built my first flow. And I couldn't believe it when it finally worked.
Awesome. That was totally not a setup, folks. I love that. And what would you say is your favorite flow feature and why?
That'd probably have to be loops. I think they could be very powerful, especially when it comes to assignment rule, getting things assigned, and also to just getting those collections. Collections are huge when it comes to flow, so that's probably my favorite feature.
Great. All right. So let's talk about your use case, and we'd like to hear more about that.
Meet Janet. Janet is a Salesforce administrator with 2 certifications and a year of hands-on experience. She juggles her responsibilities at work with raising 3 kids as a single mom. While Janet would love to sit for the Platform App Builder certification exam, finding time to study amidst her busy schedule feels impossible. Then, Janet discovers Test Me Now, a free subscription service that sends her one multiple choice question daily via text message. With Test Me Now, Janet doesn't need to block out hours for studying. She can answer a question during her breaks, after putting her kids to bed, or even while waiting in line at the grocery store. Signing up is easy. Janet visits the Test Me Now website, enters her name, phone number, selects her mobile provider from the list, chooses the certification she's preparing for, and agrees to the terms and conditions. Moments later, she receives a welcome text. That evening, while helping her kids with homework, Janet receives her first practice question. She replies with her answer and promptly gets feedback about whether she was correct and how her overall score is shaping up. This bite sized, consistent approach transforms Janet's study routine. In over 2 months, she answers 60 questions with a solid 80% overall score. Feeling confident, Janet schedules her exam. Thanks to Test Me Now, Janet passes on her first attempt, achieving her goal of becoming a certified platform app builder faster than she imagined. Best of all, she does it without sacrificing her role as a mom or her performance as an admin. Now, Janet is ready to take on new challenges at work and inspire others with her success story.
Let me go ahead and share my screen. So for this solution, what we're going to do is we have a few different objects. We're going to use our contact object, the standard object, a case standard object, and then I have 3 custom objects. We've got certification exams, questions, and subscriptions. So starting with certification exams, for these, you have your questions as your details for your master details relationships, and the question and the certification exam and the contact objects. Those are going to make you're going to use those 2 to create a junction object, which is going to be your subscriptions, and that's how we're going to manage which exams they're subscribed to and also their score for the exam and how ready they are for it. And then you have your questions, which has some basic information, just like what the question is, as well as the answer options, as well as the correct answer for each question. Right. And then we have our email templates. We want to use some our Lightning email templates to send these text messages. So you're probably wondering, why am I going to create an email template for a text message? It's because we're going to use email to text gateways, and an email to text gateway is a way for you to send a text message using an email. So, for example, if my mobile carrier is T-Mobile, I'm going to have an email address that's going to be my phone number at tmobile.com. So we have these email templates that we're going to use to send out. For example, we've got our daily question. So you're going to use your question object and use those merge fields to create those templates. And we want to set up a few things in the back end before we get into our flows. First thing is going to be our organization-wide email address. So what I like to do is I create a organizational-wide email address for each exam that I'm going to be offering. And this is how it's going to show up on their end when they receive the text message. And we want to be consistent with this when it comes to the org-wide email address, the queues, and the email to case email addresses, routing addresses. So then we have our queues. Like I said, you have one for each exam. And for those, you're just going to go ahead and set up a queue it's going to be case queue is going to be the only object in it. It's going to be cases. And then you have your users in it. And you want to make sure you put the queue email is going to be the same email as the org-wide email address. For our email to cases, same thing. We're going to be consistent with it, using it for one for each exam. In this way, when the contact replies via text message, it's going to come back into our system as an email, because it's actually going to be received as that same email address we sent it to. But with a little bit of a twist. I'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. So when it comes in, it's going to be creating a case. So that's how we're going to handle it and do our replies. So let's go ahead and get into our flows. So the first one that we have is going to be our screen flow. And this is the one that you saw on the Experience Cloud site in the user story. And what it does is it just goes ahead and asks the user for some information, like their first name, last name, their phone number, and their mobile provider. And it's going to check to see if the contact is already in the system. If it's not, it's going to go ahead and create the contact. And then from there, they're going to go ahead and use the exam that they selected to decide which exam record we need to get. Once it gets that exam record, it's going to go ahead and locate if they already have the subscription. It's going to use that certification exam as well as that contact record to see if there's already that junction object created. If it is created, they're just going to get a screen letting them know, hey, you've already subscribed. If you've unsubscribed by accident, just send us a text saying resume, and it'll resubscribe you to the exam practice. However, if there's not one created, we're going to go ahead and create the subscription, and we're going to go ahead and send in we're going to get our email template. It's called the welcome email template to welcome them to the subscription. Like I said, that's going to be a text message. So we're going to send an email action out to them and use the ID we find in the get email template record and send that out to them. And then they're going to receive a text message letting them know, hey, welcome to the subscription. If you do want to ever unsubscribe for any reason, you can do so by texting stop, and then it ends with our success message, letting them know to check their phone for a text message confirmation. Next, we have our update active question. So every day we're going to be sending one question. So this is going to be a scheduled trigger flow that's going to send out daily. And it's going to go through for each exam. It's going to go ahead and update the question for each exam. That's the active question. So it's going to get all the questions that are available for that exam. And then it's going to loop through them to see how many there are. Because as you add more questions, that number of how many questions are possible is going to continue to change. So we want to find out how many there are total so that way when we do our get active question, we find out which one is our current active question. We want to change it to the next one, which would be the next in line. For say if you were on question 5, you want to change to question 6. But say you only have 5 questions, you want to go back to question 1. So that's why we're getting this loop here to see how many there are so we could see if it's the last question or not. And then it decides how we're going to go ahead and assign the next question, if it's going to go back to start to 1 or if it's going to increase by 1. From there, we're just going to go ahead and deactivate the old question and then activate our new question. So once our question is set for our new active question for the daily question to send out, we just got to send out that question. So we're going to go ahead and get the question for each subscriber that's currently active. And then it's going to send out that email template after it gets the email template ID. And so here's a little twist. When our cases come back in from the replies from the user, they're going to come in, but with a little bit of a twist. They're going to come back in with a +1 in front of that email address. When we send it out, it's just their phone number. For example, 123456789 at tmobile.com. But when it comes back in, it's going to have a +1 in front of it. So it's like +1123456789. So we're going to want to do a fast field update on that case to get it back to the original way the email was when we sent it out. So that way it actually pulls the contact into the case. So then we're going to go ahead and handle the reply, the possibilities that we could get when we get a reply from one of the users. So we could get a number of different responses for them. We could get them saying stop to end the subscription. We could get them to say resume to resubscribe. We could get them giving one of the answer options, A, B, or C, or we could just get a completely random text message from them. And then pretty much we'll just let them know, hey, we don't accept that answer. Please provide us one of these options. But before we do that, we're just going to go ahead and use the case that triggered the record, and then it's going to get the contact that are associated with it. So as long as that email address is the correct way we have it on the contact, it's going to associate that contact on that case. So once that was done in our fast field update, we're going to go ahead and get that contact record, and then we're going to locate the subscription using the contact and then the certification exam. So how do we figure out which certification exam it is from that email that we received from them? Well, the org-wide email address that's associated with that certification, that's going to be the email of the queue that it came into. So it's going to be the group owner ID email address. So let me go ahead and open this up I'll show you. So the org-wide email address on the certification exam is going to be our owner ID for their group, aka the queue, and it's going to be the email field within that. From there, we're just going to go ahead and update the case with our contact and subscription. So just adding the subscription to the case so that way it's filled out nicely and we have all of our fields filled in. And then from there, we're going to do a decision element to decide how we're going to handle it. So if we get A, B, or C in the description field of the triggering case, we want to go ahead and say, okay, they answered a question. If they unsubscribed, we're going to receive a stop in the description, or resubscribe, we're going to receive resume. Anything else is an unknown reason. So if we go to the answered questions, we're going to go ahead and get that active question that's currently active, and then we're going to check to see if the correct answer on that record is equal to what we get from the user's response. And then we're going to go ahead and see if it's correct. If it is correct, we're going to go ahead and there's two fields on our subscription record that's going to be called correct answers and questions answered. So every time they answer a question, we're going to add one to that questions answered. But every time they get a correct answer, we're also going to add one to the correct answers. So if they get it incorrect, it's only going to add it to the questions answered, because those fields are going to be used for our formula, which gives us the score, which we're going to send out in the email template. When we let them know you were correct or incorrect, we also send them their score as well. So that way they kind of know where they're at in their certification prep. So once it's been, we've assigned those, we're going to go ahead and get the email template from if it's correct or incorrect. And then we're going to assign the email template ID to a variable called email template send ID. So no matter which response we get, we're going to get an email template, and we want to assign that ID to this, because then when we do our send email action, we could just plug that into our record ID for the send email action. So for if they sent us the word stop, we're going to go ahead and unsubscribe them. So we're just going to go ahead and get that subscription record, and we're going to change the is subscribed field to false. And opposite, we would just go ahead and put it to true if they wanted to resubscribe. Any other type of answer we get from them, we're just going to go ahead and send them an email or a text message that says, hey, we don't accept that response. Sorry. Send us something we understand. And then we have our email action, and then it's going to close the case. So that's how I went ahead and automated my study routine. Back to you, Jen.
Now you really stepped it up to the next level by bringing automation or animation with your user story. No one else has done that. So kudos to you, Bradley. So with all the buzz around Agentforce, I challenge Bradley to see if he can bring AI into his solution. And I'm pretty excited to see his student agent. So Bradley, can you tell us about your agent and what it was like to build your first agent?
Yeah. So that one threw me for a loop when you challenged me there. I was thinking, I'm not gonna have to deal with the AI agents for a while. Nope, they were right in my face once you gave me that challenge. Yeah, it was fun. I was having to figure out what I wanted the agent to do. That was a big part of it. Like, what could they handle that I could take tasks from a regular agent, like a call center agent, and offload them to this AI agent. What things could it handle? And what times was maybe bots better, just the Salesforce bots, when was that a better use case and over the AI agent? So yeah, it was fun though. So let me go ahead and actually share my solution. Let me share my screen. Okay, so for when we want to use our agent to go ahead and help subscribe them. So before we're using our screen, this time we're going to use our agent over here. So if we select the little chat button here, it's going to start our agent, and he does a little intro. Welcome to Test Me Now. I can assist you with managing exam preparation, subscriptions, and answering questions we have about exams. What would you like to do first? So I'm going to let him know. It's like, hey, I would like to go ahead and subscribe to your text subscription service. And he's letting me know, sure thing, I can help you with that. Could you please provide me with your first name, last name, phone number, and mobile provider? So same information that we wanted to get from our screen flow, our agent's going to ask us. So I'm going to say, of course. My name is Todd Sherman, and my phone number is 456-78987-1203. And my mobile provider is, let's see, we'll do Verizon. It says, great, Todd. We have your contact information. We currently offer preparation for the following Salesforce certification exams. We've got our Salesforce Administrator exam, the Salesforce Platform App Builder exam, and the Salesforce AI Special exam. Which one would you like to subscribe to? So, since the Salesforce AI Specialist exam is, a hot hit right now, and you can get it, take it for free on your first attempt up till, I think it's December 2025, if I'm not mistaken. You can go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and try to go ahead and prepare for that one. It says, awesome choice. Just to confirm, our service is free, but standard text messaging rates may apply. Do you accept these terms? So if you see from our screen, we've done everything that we've needed in our screen. We've had our agent do. So it's gone ahead and gotten our contact information. From here, it's gone ahead and asked us for the certification exam that we wanted to do. And then it's going to go ahead and ask us if to accept those terms and conditions. So it's doing everything at once from the screen. So I agree. And that's, and then it's going to go ahead and subscribe us to the exam. So then what we want to go ahead and do our agent now. And so this is how we built our agent. So we've got our agent builder. So in order to enable Agentforce, you're going to go into setup and you're going to go ahead and enable the generative AI capabilities. And then you can go into the agents section, and you would just go ahead and create new agent. And it's going to ask you for some information when you want to create your agent. So we created a service agent, and I provided it with some basic instructions on what I wanted it to do. So for the description, this is a Test Me Now agent that helps users sign up for tech subscriptions and answers their questions about subscriptions and helps them manage their account. And the role of the agent is to assist users in subscription management, enrolling, subscribing to different tech subscriptions, and helping them unsubscribe to subscriptions, and answering basic questions about the subscriptions available. And then I gave it some information about our company. This also it uses a little bit for what tone it uses. So the Test Me Now is a subscription service that sends daily practice exam questions to the subscribed users. And we offer 3 exam preparation subscriptions, and these are the ones we offer. And then you're also going to have to create an agent user, and this user is going to be what controls what data it can see. And then we also have our topics. So I kept the general FAQ topic in here because what I did is I go ahead and uploaded a couple files that told a little bit about each certification exam. So that way it has that knowledge to pull from. And you had to create a knowledge library for that. And then we all have our subscription management topic. This is a custom topic I created. There is a account management topic that's already there that I could have altered, but I decided to go with a custom one because there were some more things I wanted it to do that I felt like it should have its own topic. So within the topic, you give it some instructions, based off of what you want it to be able to do and what scope it could do, what it can and cannot do, as well as some instructions. And the instructions are ones where you could say, always ask for this information, never delete a record, that kind of information. So I make sure that it's always asking them for a certification exam and locating a contact before it even tries to create a subscription, as well as also asking them if they accept terms and conditions before it it creates any subscription, letting them know that the service is free. However, standard text message and data rates might apply based off the provider. And then we have our agent actions, and these are what it can use to actually make to perform any actions, obviously. So the first one I'll go over is the assign mobile provider. So before we even can do anything for the contact, we want to make sure that we offer a subscription to them, because not all mobile providers have a email to text gateway. So I want to make sure that we are able to service them first. So for this agent action, I went ahead and just pretty much it asks them for their mobile provider, and then it checks to see if it's one that we offer. So here's the flow. And all it does is I have a record variable, which is the mobile provider, and this is a text, and it's going to just be the name of whatever provider they have. Then from there, it's just going to ask which one did they provide us. So they provide us with one of these options. or did they give us something other than one of these? And if it did, then it's just unable to assist them with it. So once it decides which way it's going to go, for example, T-Mobile, it's going to go ahead and just have the mobile provider variable that we already have, and it's just going to equal it to T-Mobile. And then we have for anything that's not one of those ones, it's going to be the unable to assist. So if it goes this route, it's just going to let them know, I'm sorry, unfortunately we don't offer it. Please check it back again though, because we do add more as they become available. So I actually add that in the instructions when I create the action to let it know to say that to the users. So for example, right here, I have on the output, if the output is unable to assist, let them know that unfortunately we do not offer the subscription to members of those providers, but check back another time as we continue to add more. And if it's not unable to assist, the value should be used as the mobile provider input for the locate, create, contact new action. So I have an action to locate the contact later, or create it. So I need that mobile provider in order to create the contact. So I'm going to use this output in a different action. So big thing with the Agentforce is your flows are going to be small. They're going to be very little, and they're going to, because it's going to be pretty much one or two elements from your big flows, and that's what your whole flow is going to be. It's just that little piece, and then they all combine to make that that bigger one. So it's a lot like subflows in a way. And then I have, for example, our create subscriptions. We've got that one. We've got our retrieve exam information. And that's how they all work together. And then you have to just make sure you test it out in your builder and you activate it. But you do have to deactivate it anytime you want to make any changes. So be aware of that. But yeah, that was my solution. Back to you, Jen.
Awesome. I love how you added the Agentforce twist. Thank you for taking me up on the challenge. I know I threw you for a loop, but I appreciate it. So given your original implementation and then your Agentforce implementation, walk us through like the thought process for the implementation. Like how did you take that original screen flows and all those flows and then figure out here's how you would make them work in the agent?
Yeah. So pretty much I just thought, okay, the agent's going to be my input, components of the screen flow. So he's just going to have to, he's going to be the thing that's getting the information from our users. So I pretty much just took the screen element from my original flow and used that as my base of what I need to use for my agent.
Great. All right, so we're going to transition over to the Q&A segment. So as a reminder, start your questions with a Q colon so I could easily spot that. And let's move into the Q&A. All right, so we have two questions from Andrew Michael. The first one is there a way to get the mobile carrier for the contacts without having to ask them for it? And then his follow-up question was, why were you asking them for the provider?
Okay. So the reason we're asking for the provider is the email to text gateways. So it's going to use if it's T-Mobile, they have a domain that's their phone number at tmobile.com, and that's how we send those text messages is using that email address. So we need to get their carrier in order to create that email. And there is a way to get that carrier without having to actually ask them. I was able to actually try one way that was the HTTP call out. And using that, you can actually use an API to get the carrier from, there's a website that actually offers it for free. And so you can actually use that to get the carrier without having to ask.
Great. So thanks, Andrew, for that. And our next question is from Kate Lassard. Thanks for the question, Kate. And her question is, did you primarily use these small utility flows as your custom actions for this agent?
Well, yeah. So for pretty much those smaller flows that I had, those were my actions, and a lot of those were just kind of like get records. Like in a way, they were like each one was almost like a get record. It got the input from the user, and then using that, it went ahead and located the records, and then output the actual full record as a variable.
Yeah, I found that as I'm building more and more agents and getting more experience with that, I find that I am building smaller flows and not these like massive, massive flows that do all sorts of things because you don't know how the user is going to interact with your agent. So you have to like chunk them out into like smaller bits, which is great because then
Yeah,
you don't have to build these massive, massive flows like you would traditionally
good.
do.
It's a lot of decision ones.
Hmm. Yeah, and a lot of them is just like get records, send it back, get records, do this. Yeah. All right. Looking to see if there are any other questions. Gonna give it a moment. Get started with a Q colon to ask your question. Now, so Bradley, now that you worked on your first agent, and if you had to create another agent, like what would you play around with? And I know I'm putting you on
So
the spot.
probably I would probably do something rather than with flows. I would probably do something with prompt builder and maybe use the agent to actually create the exam questions. Maybe because give them some information about what the exam objectives are and give it some example questions and use it to actually have it create its own questions. And that way, I wouldn't even have to do an update active question. I could just have the agent create a new question every day.
Hmm. All right, so that's your next assignment. And I want you to come back in a few months and you're going to show it to us. All right. So I don't see any other questions. So let's continue on. All right. So let's just recap what we learned from Bradley today. So we learned about email to text gateways, what they are, how to use them, email to case, how to use them to process the responses, and then junction objects and handling those many to many relationships. All right, folks, so now it's your turn. Get started with the automation and learning map using that short link that you see there. And if you want to learn more about sending and receiving emails with email to case, there's a help article that we posted in that short link. And to learn more about Agentforce, because that's still relatively new to everyone, get up to speed by watching the Agentforce playlist. So definitely check those out. And complete the Built with Agentforce quest to get hands-on with Agentforce and build your first agent, record a demo, and share it on social. You still have time because you have until December 31st, so there's still time to do so for your chance to win a ticket to either TDX or an Agentforce hoodie. So use the short link that you see on the screen for more information on that quest. And I'm going to give a quick shout out to my other series, How I Solved It, where we take one business problem and show how one awesome admin chose to solve it. So check out the playlist to watch our past episodes. And get great content produced for you admins. Visit our website, admin.salesforce.com, for the latest blogs, podcasts, and videos. And listen to the Salesforce Admins podcast, hosted by Mike Gerholt at all the places that you get your podcast content. And lastly, watch past episodes of Automate This on our playlist on the Salesforce Admins YouTube channel. All right, so thank you, Bradley, for coming on and being my guest presenter on Automate This. This was really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
And thank you all of you for joining us for this Automate This episode. It's the last one for 2024. I hope you had a blast. I had a blast producing the series. So we'll see you next time.